Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on just DC TV as a whole. So this week brings not only the end of the Flash TV series on, TV, but also the run of the Arrowverse to an end as well on TV. Like, I know Superman and Lois is still on, but I personally don't really consider that straight up Arrowverse, more of like an offshoot. But even if you do consider it Arrowverse, it is at the very least the end of the Earth Prime Arrowverse on TV. Now, due to this, there is a lot of like retrospective stuff going on, as well as the gazing into the future of what does remain and potentially what could return. But throughout this video, do let me know in the comment section down below your reactions to this, because I'm very interested to see where people's minds might be going and how you things could play out from here. And of course, if you're going to enjoy the video, drop a like. Takes 2 seconds, supports the channel. But the first thing I want to just mention quickly is just serving as like an update of sorts from a video we did like last week sometime. But Justice U, the spin-off involving Diggle, that has officially been cancelled, or, not moving forward is probably the better term to use. It was in development for a while and was just sort of like sitting there, with the last update being back in October of last year. But considering what the CW has become around since that point, I guess, but just, the past couple of years, since Nexstar took it over, it would have been a shock if it moved forward. So yeah, RIP Justice U. I wasn't going to make a video on it just specifically, so I thought I'd mention it here. But as we said earlier on, with the end of The Flash also comes the end of the Arrowverse, but is it the last time we will, have something from it on screen? Well, Eric Wallace, the showrunner for The Flash, and Todd Helbing, the showrunner for Superman and Lois, did weigh in on that, and while not confirming anything, they definitely didn't let any hopes die out. If anything, they maybe kept some of those hopes alive, but this is what Eric Wallace initially had to say. I still am hopeful that the Arrowverse is not over. I've approached it as The Flash is over, and I want to make the best Flash series finale as possible. On the other side, of course, there's no Batwoman, there's no Legends, there's no Black Lightning, there's no Arrow or Supergirl. It is very strange. All the shows that were on Earth Prime, they're all going away or gone away. So what does that mean? I don't know. I am going to have lunch with Todd Helbing in the next couple of weeks, and I'm going to tell him, if you get a 4th season, you've got to sneak some Arrowverse in there. You are now carrying the torch. But in regards to Todd Helbing, when asked, he did smile as he thought about the potential of keeping the Arrowverse alive if Superman and Lois reverses its decision. But he doesn't know if he'll even get the chance, as his series hasn't even been renewed yet, and the CW slate of original shows continues to get slashed by new owner Nexstar. I will say this, it sure is a lot easier now that the other shows aren't on the air. People's schedules are a lot easier to work around, so maybe. I would love to bring Grant on, and I think it would be a lot of fun to have Iris with Lois Lane, so we'll see. Now, my overall thoughts on this is that it does mention reversing the Earth swap. Like, that's what they say, like reversing its decision earlier on. That's, talking about the decision at the end of season 2 to make it separate Earths, and that Superman and Lois is on just this other Earth in the multiverse. I don't see that happening. That just seems so crazy. It'd be really weird if they did that. But The Flash, as we know from, the later parts of this season, does know the multiverse again. So maybe he just goes exploring, and that would be the easiest way to let Grant Gustin reprise his role as the Flash on Superman and Lois. It's just have it that he maybe comes to Superman and Lois's Earth because he's searching for something. Maybe he gets spat out there. We don't know. But something along those lines. It's pretty easy now that he knows the multiverse is out there. So that just seems like the easiest introduction or way to reintroduce, might I say, or have a reintroduction to Grant, but on Superman and Lois. It'd be sort of interesting to see what his aesthetic and stuff would look like, because Superman and Lois has like a different like filming technique, and even they use visual effects differently. Sometimes better, sometimes for worse, depends on which aspect it is. So yeah, I'd be very intrigued to see what that would look like. But if that isn't to be, Eric Wallace is tasked with the final moments we see most of, if not all, the main characters that people do tune in weekly to watch, with Eric saying this: I've wrapped a lot of things in the series finale, and it ends on a very hopeful note that shows you how the future of the Arrowverse could continue in some way, shape, or form. It hopefully gives people closure, but also some hopes for the future, because otherwise it's very sad to think that there's no more crossovers, that there won't be an Arrowverse after May 24th. That saddens me because I love it so much, and it was such a big part of not just my life, but a whole fan base's life. So that does have me very interested to see what the ending is. A lot of people are wondering what the actual final either shot or just the final handful of moments specifically with Barry are, and where it leaves him. Like, we know that the final shot of the show appears to be him running, maybe running into the Speed Force, something along those lines, but there's a lot of curiosity around that. So it'll be interesting to see what that's like in just a handful of days, or at least just under a week from now. But as I've said, like pretty much in the lead up to this, there is a lot of pressure there because a lot of people have some expectations that like the whole Arrowverse has to be wrapped up. And I've completely disagreed with that, whether it's this entire final season or just the finale itself. That's not the job. The job is to wrap up the Flash. And I think as long as you wrap up properly, not Grant, Barry, Iris, maybe Joe, Caitlin, because I think Caitlin's coming back alive. If you wrap up those main characters that have been there since season 1, then I think Eric Wallace has done his job, at least specifically for the finale and seeing the show out. So yeah, I'm intrigued to see what it's like and what even like that, that loose hanging fruit at the end of the episode might be, and I guess the end of the series. But if you have any thoughts or theories, let me know, because I'm intrigued to see what it might be. But in regards to futures, the CW president, Brad Schwartz, did have something to say on the final episodes of Superman and Lois Season 3. The ending of this season is amazing. You've got some Lex Luthor in there. I don't want to give any spoilers, but the end of the season is great, and it's got a bit of a cliffhanger. Now, you might be thinking, oh, that's really cool. The CEO of the CW at the moment, this Brad Schwartz guy that's coming, he's talking up the show. He's saying, hey, we've got some really cool stuff there. Be sure to tune in. It's got a cliffhanger. Ooh, future. It's teasing that, we'll get something of, that cliffhanger leads into season 4. But that wasn't where things ended with Brad Schwartz. He turned some positive chat about Superman and Lois, like we just read then, and he turned it into some negative stuff when he said this. While Superman and Lois remains creatively very strong, it's expensive and it doesn't make any money for us. We don't have the rights to the prior seasons. You need to have a library for people to find a show, and the prior seasons are on HBO Max. So by this, it sounds like all the excuses and all the reasoning for not going on with Superman and Lois into a potential season 4, at least on the CW, have been laid out, and the writer's strike, of course, was even left out of those excuses, which is another component for shows not being picked up again, or at least they're being questioning as to whether they do continue with a show, whether it's 3 seasons in or just starting or 10 seasons in. But it is that last part that Brad Schwartz talked about that is important. All the prior seasons are on HBO Max's library, not the CW's, but HBO Max's, and it is being consistently reported that HBO Max could be the new home and that there are talks going on. Now, this is a disclaimer. I would be very careful in putting hopes and dreams in regards to this and this potential move to HBO Max. As I've said, I think whether it's staying on the CW or surviving, via a move to HBO Max or another streamer, but most likely HBO Max, it's still all 50-50, a flip of the coin. And places like Deadline, The Hollywood Reporter, and various things like that are all saying it seems to be a day-by-day discussion, if you want to put it, as to what's going to happen with not just, Superman and Lois, but even a couple of other shows on the CW. And I think everyone wants it to keep going for a few reasons, 2 of which are, 1, it's a damn good show, and 2, it's a pretty dead landscape for DC over the next 18 months in regards to things that people support and actually want to watch. And that is even more important when it comes to DC TV. The only other DC TV show that people are even talking about that could come out in the next 18 months is Creature Commandos. And when I say that, I mean something that's properly a part of the DC universe. Of course, we have stuff like Sweet Tooth and Sandman and stuff on Netflix, funnily enough, both of those shows. But in regards to a thing within the DC universe that has a big figure within there, the only other thing is Creature Commandos. That's the first project in James Gunn's new DC universe, and it's animated, which on face value can just turn some people away, or at least not bring in a lot of people's interest just because of animation and shorter episodes and just people like live action stuff. So it wouldn't shock me at all if that's something that's really put into consideration, not by the CW. They probably don't care. They're all about money and everything like that, which is fair enough if that's the way you want to go about it. Though I think probably 5 years from now, the CW is just not going to be anything. It's not probably, people won't even be tuning into it in 5 years because it's going to be just the most random crap ever. It won't have an actual brand like it had, I guess, over the past 10 to 15 years or something like that. But I think this would be put into consideration by Warner Brothers and HBO Max in regards to that whole DC TV side. James Gunn talked positively about the show and that, he's not going to put any sort of, block on it not being a thing for the next year or two. Though I think the show ends definitely before Superman Legacy comes out. But it's the only show he really talked. He didn't talk about Titans or Doom Patrol, really. He didn't talk about Gotham Knights. Didn't talk about anything else. But Superman and Lois is a show that he was happy to talk about and sort of give some faith that it might continue or that it would continue. So, yeah, I guess everyone's hopes and dreams, is going to be on HBO Max, but I wouldn't just properly invest in that, if that makes sense. I think it's still going to be a 50-50 decision, or it's got 50-50 chances, regardless of whether it stays on the CW or does move to HBO Max. And I think it's just a wait and see. I mean, we can't control it. I know you could do a hashtag or something on Twitter or something, but I don't think that's going to affect it too much. They just know what they're getting into. But Superman and Lois does perform very well on HBO Max. So you've already got the backing there. It was, as I've brought up multiple times, it was only just shy of Peacemaker, and they made a big hoopla about how well Peacemaker did. So Superman and Lois must be doing very well because that was going to HBO Max after it aired on the CW. But yeah, fingers crossed for good news. I mean, it'd be disappointing to see the show end without a proper wrap-up, let alone a big cliffhanger being there, or at least some sort of cliffhanger being teased, and it's just, you know, wondering what if. So yeah, that would be very disappointing for a show like Superman and Lois, and it just feels like it's a show that's not meant to end after season 3. It feels like a show that's at least meant to go for 4 or 5 seasons. So fingers crossed, we'll wait and see, but let's just hope for good news, I guess. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome. You could drop a like on it to show support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various opinions on all the stuff we went over in this video. Always curious to read what you guys are thinking. And if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, and I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.